Hey, how we doing everyone? Welcome back to another episode on the wicked Kawasaki ZH2. Now, a little while ago we did a video on the ZR 1400 discussing hazards, everyday road hazards that your motorcycle instructor never told you about. And to be fair, there's a lot of things that motorcycle instructors leave out when it comes to riding bikes, especially when it comes to road conditions and everyday things that you will probably run into at some point or other as you are riding. And a lot of you had some really good suggestions down in the comment section, lots of other hazards that we could mention. So in today's video, I decided to make a part 2. So here we go, part 2 of hazards that your motorcycle instructor never told you about. I mean, right here, look, you can see there's like mud on the road from tractors and things. I mean, we live in the West Country, and yeah, there's all this stuff when it's wet. It's not very nice stuff to ride on. We did mention in the last video about gravel. This is what I was talking about. Stuff like this. That is like ice. You go over that, you put a little bit of brake on, yeah, you are not stopping. Yeah, just done the oil change on this bike. She's feeling pretty good as well. Woo! Man, this bike's good fun. Woo! Alrighty, so starting off today's video, we're going to discuss a couple of wet things on the road that you will probably want to avoid for the most part. Wet drain covers and wet paint. Not actually paint that is wet on the road, but dry paint, the paint that is on the road already that has got rainwater on it. So for me, the worst culprit is drain covers. For some reason, whenever a drain cover is wet, it has no grip whatsoever. You put that front wheel over it, if you're in a bend at the time, oh man, you gotta pray that it gets grip again pretty quick. And even though drain covers have like little knobbly bits to try and help with the grip, honestly, in my experience for the most part, they are just awful to ride over when they're wet. And the thing is, because they have these drain covers, these manhole covers, right in the middle of roads as well, a lot of the time you can't avoid them because you're going around a blind bend and you don't see it coming. And then all of a sudden, you're going over this wet drain cover. And you've got to really adjust quickly to make sure that you either avoid it or you slow down enough so if you do go over it, you're not going to be going into it leaning the bike over or something like that. You're not going to be braking too hard. Yeah, drain covers, in a car, drain covers are no problem because you've got 3 other points of contact for the most part that the car's able to grip with. But on a bike, because you've only got 2 points of contact, when you lose one of those gripping points, yeah, things start to get a little bit iffy. It was really funny actually, on this road, I used to work down in this little town that we're traveling towards today, and I was going up one of these hills and there was a stupid motorcyclist. Luckily I was on a bike myself, but there was a stupid motorcyclist going the opposite direction up a hill that was totally blind, overtaking a load of traffic, and they got to the summit of the hill at exactly the same time as I did. And luckily at the time I was riding in lane 2 and not in lane 3. If I was in lane 3, we would have hit each other head on. Honestly, just absolutely just terrifying and scary. But that's why you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be just on it all the time on a bike. And there are stupid people out there, a lot of stupid people out there, regardless of what vehicle they're using at the time. Yeah, they are. There's a lot of dumbasses around, if I'm being totally honest with you. Oh, that's sad. This used to be a 70-mile-an-hour road down here. I think they've been developing this quite a lot recently. Yeah, there's quite a lot of new houses, so they're turning this road into a 30. Boo! Boring! I used to love blasting it down here. Yeah, it was great fun. I mean, I haven't been this way in, my gosh, best part of at least a year. Oh, no, did they have a sign there saying ramp? Look here as well. Look, no sign saying ramp here. How stupid! Look, all this construction gravel, all the mud. If that is a little bit wet, oh yeah, you could be in trouble if you're going over that too quick and you try braking or you try leading the bike over. Yeah, you're gonna struggle there, I think. It's quite funny because talking about that stupid rider that was overtaking traffic going up a hill, a blind hill, Well, that was actually going to be one of my points for today's video, was blind bends. Blind bends, I mean, the biggest issue with blind bends is, one, you're not going to know where the apex is of the corner, you're not going to know where the exit is of the bend. So sometimes, you know, you hit a bend a little bit too hard, a little bit too fast, then you're going to struggle in some cases actually trying to make the bend if you're not careful. But it's not just that, it is literally that the whole thing behind, you don't know what's coming around that bend. You can literally have some moron trying to overtake you on a blind bend. It's absolutely ridiculous, but people do it. People do it, and I absolutely hate it. I don't understand why people feel the need to put themselves at risk and everyone else at risk. It's stupid, but it does happen, and unfortunately it happens more frequently than I care to admit, unfortunately. But yeah, just anything, even you know, it could be something like drain cover, as I mentioned before. It could be wet paint, it could be even just potholes, things like that you're simply not expecting going around the corner. And it's really easy for me to say, oh, expect the unexpected, but you've got to be prepared for the unexpected, and that's the issue. Being prepared is really difficult. And a lot of the time it comes down to just experience, knowing what to expect. All comes down to experience, expecting the unexpected. Yeah, what a stupid phrase. You know, if we all expected the unexpected, then you know, we'd all be doing a hell of a lot better, wouldn't we? So one other thing as well, as you're going around a bend, or I mean, to be fair, if you're just riding around at night as well, one thing that you've got to look out for are wild animals. It's not so much an issue here in the UK. Wild animals tend to be limited to things like pheasants. Pheasants are friggin' horrible. I hate pheasants. They are nasty little things. I mean, to be fair, they're just dumbass birds. And there are certain times a year where they're in huge flocks and they all decide to cross the road at the same time. And they don't know when the right time is to cross the road, so they just go for it. And even though they can fly, a lot of the times they don't decide to. When they see you coming towards them, they don't decide to fly away. They either sit there in the middle of the road, or they think, oh, it's okay, I'll just move out of the way, and they end up moving into the opposite side, into the opposite lane, where traffic is coming towards it from the opposite direction. Oh, honestly, pheasants are just dumb. But it could be something like a fox, it could be a badger, it could be, I don't know, did I say a frog? I don't know, it could be anything like that. I don't know if we get wild deer in the UK anymore. Maybe we do in Scotland or in the Lake District, maybe, I don't know. But it's not so much an issue here. But in places like India, in North America, Canada, Russia, places where there's lots of vast wilderness, and you've got just one road going through that wilderness, that's probably when you're going to find a lot of wildlife that might just jump out in front of you. I mean, for God's sake, when we've done our reaction content in the past, where, you know, we see motorcycle crashes and things, the amount of clips that are out there of just freak animals just coming out into the road, and it's either in the dark or, as we mentioned, going around a blind bend, there's just this animal there. You know, it's crazy how many of those clips are out there on the internet. So as much as it's not an issue over here in the UK, our channel reaches places like the United States, Canada, and India, and Russia. I hope, but I mean, there's probably not a lot of English-speaking Russians. But you know, it's something that you really do need to be wary of if you live in one of those countries and you ride a bike. Because more often than not, even if you're hitting something like a pheasant, it might knock you off your bike. And the wisdom is that if an animal does jump out in front of you, run over it. Don't do anything different that you normally would. Let the bike take the impact and just keep riding in that direction. As soon as you start trying to avoid the animal, that's when accidents are going to happen. That's when errors in judgment are going to happen, because again, it's a split-second decision. But current wisdom dictates just run the animal over, even if it's something big like a deer or something like that. But my goodness, man, some deer are heavier than the bike itself. So man, that's tough. What you do in that situation is really difficult to judge, and it all comes down to how the animal reacts and how you react, literally within a split second. So yeah, really difficult thing to manage. But at the same time, you take it easy when you're out on a ride and go down roads that you're familiar with if you want to have a little bit of fun. I tend to just have fun in straight lines. You know, I don't tend to go fast where there's lots of bends, because it's not worth it. Again, bends for the most part are blind. Even a bend like this, a really shallow bend, it's still blind. At the apex, you don't know what's coming. There you go, here's another bend, totally blind. I don't know what's around that corner. But if we take it easy, give yourself that time to react, then it should give you a better chance of adjusting or correcting whatever is going on in front of you, and you'll be better off for it. But yeah, man, honestly, animals, they are one of the biggest kind of wild cards, I suppose, pardon the pun. Just, yeah, because you really don't know. These shrubs and things like that, a lot of the time it's camouflaging animals, even like wild rabbits and things, little hares. They can just jump out of these shrubs, hedgehogs, jump out of these shrubs, and what are you going to do? Yeah, really difficult. But the one benefit you've got on a bike is that you've got 3 lanes to choose from. So you've got a lot more room to maneuver than if you were in a car. A car pretty much takes up the whole lane on a road. So use the whole lane as best you can when you're on a motorcycle. In those situations, it can really help. And I know that a lot of the time I say about sticking to lane 3 when it comes to riding, but when it comes to like country lanes and things like that, sometimes adjusting your lane positioning when you're going around bends to give you a little bit of a heads up of what is to come around that bend, then yeah, it was always like, say for example, you go into lane 1 here when you're going on a right hand bend, you go to lane 3 when you're going on a left hand bend. All these techniques I've seen before, and I don't tend to practice them all that regularly, but if you do a lot of country road riding and there's a lot of wilderness, as I mentioned earlier, and a lot of potential wildlife that could come out and hit you, could come after you, then by all means get the hang of practicing the lane switching. You never know, one day it might really help you. So in the part 1 we did kind of mention this a little bit in very specific circumstances, but pedestrians and cyclists. Let's go down this way. Is this way going to take us where we want to go? I mean, that sign isn't very good, to be honest. Oh no, we want to go this way actually. Because yeah, I've not been on this road before actually. So woo! Where was I? Yeah, pedestrians and cyclists, all of them are a hazard to you. Whenever you see a pedestrian on the road, whenever you see a cyclist, always be aware, because as clever as humans are meant to be, a lot of the time cyclists and pedestrians are not, and they will not do things that are expected. They will do things totally out of the ordinary for reasons that you will never understand. I mean, we've had people walk out in front of me from parked cars before, and they haven't checked the road before they cross. You get women with prams pushing babies first out into the road. Again, you get cyclists that will ride on the road for 1 second, then they'll move over onto the pavement when it suits them, and then they'll ride back on the road straight away without looking behind them, without, you know, doing a little check over their shoulder to make sure there's nothing behind them. Before they just jump out, they just do it. They don't care. And it's just little things like that, because as I mentioned in the first video, it's your fault. If you run someone over, if you hit someone, it is your fault. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, it's your fault. Which is kind of stupid. I don't like that attitude, but unfortunately that is the attitude that we have here in the UK, and I suspect that is the attitude that a lot of countries have when it comes to road safety. Pedestrians always come first. And unfortunately, cyclists always come first as well when it comes to road management, when it comes to road use, and when it comes to road safety. Road safety. Gosh, been breathing, sucking in lots of air and been swallowing it. I got burps. So anytime you see a pedestrian, anytime you see a cyclist, whether that is out in the country, whether that is in city environments, town environments, keep your wits about you, keep your eyes on them until you are way past them. The crazy and annoying thing is about cyclists, it's that a lot of the time you get past one in a city environment where there's dense traffic, you hit a red light, a cyclist will go ahead and undertake all the traffic, and all the effort that you've gone to overtaking that cyclist, you've got to do it all over again because they can't be bothered to wait their place in line. That's one of the things that really frustrates me the most about cyclists, is the fact that they just undertake everyone when it suits them, and they'll get right. A motorcycle filtering isn't so bad because for the most part it's going to be able to keep up with the traffic, but a cyclist can't keep up with traffic, so they end up just holding everybody up behind them. So they filter, they undertake everyone when they get to the red light, then they don't even stop at the red light, they just go straight through it anyway because, well, they think they're God's gift to the earth and they can do whatever the hell they like, and then you've got to go through the effort of overtaking them again. Oh dear. Yeah, just absolutely awful, man, what cyclists will do. For the most part, pedestrians don't do things deliberately, they do things by mistake. They do little things by accident, like they'll walk out into the road without looking over their shoulder. Things like that, without looking onto the road because they're chatting to someone, or because they're on the phone, or maybe because they're listening to their music or something, I don't know, whatever the excuse might be. That's what will happen, is when they're distracted, that's when they're going to make these silly mistakes, and you've got to be on it, 100% on it. Well, everyone, I mean, that's pretty much what we're going to leave it as in today's video, but like in the last one, definitely go ahead and let me know your comments, your suggestions for hazards that you were never taught about, and hazards that you weren't expecting, that you didn't think were going to be an issue, and then one day ended up becoming a really big issue for you. Let me know down in the comment section, and then maybe we can make a part 3. Because all these things, new riders aren't going to know when they're going into riding a bike, or even when they're going into driving cars. They're not going to know about this stuff. And so the more we can kind of produce this content, the more we can make them aware of this stuff, the better. So definitely let me know down in the comment section what your experiences are. As always, go ahead, leave that like button if you've enjoyed this ride out with me today and you've enjoyed the content. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future uploads, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one. Take care.